With me now is our panel of Tea Party leaders: Max Pappas of Freedom Works, Amy Kramer of the Tea Party Express, Carl Denninger of Fed Up USA, and Judson Phillips of Tea Party Nation. Now, Carl Denninger, it's your turn on this question of what government spending do you believe needs to be cut because it is more socialistic than Medicare?
Well, you take the Department of Education and you throw it in the trash immediately.
Zero it out. Just cut that budget down to zero?
Absolutely zero. It is a state constitutional requirement. It is not in the federal government. It's not in the Constitution. Now, you also have to take 50% out of Medicare, though.
How much?
Half out of Medicare. Half.
So you want to cut Medicare by half. And how would you do that? Would you have beneficiaries pay that difference in order to cover what they're getting now, or would you simply cut their services in half?
No, what I would do is reorganize the program and reorganize the delivery. We have to do it. It's not a question of whether we want to. It's a question of arithmetic. And this isn't open to discussion.
First of all, Carl, I want to congratulate you for being the only brave one on the panel who's willing to actually cut a significant thing in the federal budget, something more than $1 billion.
Lawrence, I've got a lot more if you give me another shot.
What about the Department of Education, Department of Energy? This is where the real money. This is bigger. Do you understand this? Healthcare spending in this government is bigger than the Department of Energy and the Department of Education put together. When you guys want to get together and talk about cutting spending, you better learn how the government spends the money. Carl seems to have done a little bit of homework on this. Now, Carl, when you cut Medicare in half, why wouldn't you cut it and zero it out just like the Department of Education?
Because there is an argument to be made that if we're going to provide some sort of subsidy to people, some sort of socialistic
subsidy, all subsidies are socialistic.
Some sort of subsidy.
Yeah, socialistic subsidy. Can you say socialistic subsidy, because they are all socialistic?
Sure. We can say socialistic subsidy, but let's face the facts. We pay taxes to cover this subsidy that then comes back to us. So it is not a pure transfer. I pay taxes throughout my entire working life. In the same thing with Social Security, which is then at least allegedly returned to me when I retire. So if you zero the programs, what you've done is you've said, we're going to just steal this money through the taxes, and you're going to get nothing back.
Okay,
we cannot do.
Okay, let's go to another issue that's come up in the campaign, separation of church and state. Let's see if we can get quick yes or no on this. Amy, do you believe that the Constitution provides for a separation of church and state?
Yes.
Okay. Max, do you believe that?
I think in the First Amendment you have the reference to there'll be no establishment of religion, and that's been interpreted to be a separation of church and state.
Okay. Judson Phillips, do you think the Constitution provides for separation of church and state?
The First Amendment says the government shall make no law establishing a religion. Supreme Court's interpreted it that way, and that is the law of the land.
Now, you have said, Judson, you've said if you read the Quran in no uncertain terms says some wonderful things like kill the infidels. It says it on more than one occasion. I happen to be the infidel. I have a real problem with people who want to kill me just because I'm the infidel. You were in that piece talking also about Keith Ellison, a Muslim member of Congress. Do you believe that Muslims should not be elected to public office in this country?
No, I've never said that.
Okay. Amy Kramer, where are you on that?
No, I mean, I haven't said that.
Okay. Max Pappas, do you believe that Muslims should be allowed to be elected in this country?
It's a free country. That's what you don't seem to understand about what brings us together is an appreciation of freedom and our belief in limited government, constitutionally limited government.
Carl Denninger, can you understand when people make statements about the Quran and about Muslims that way, in referring to a Muslim member of Congress, that people might wonder, as I'm asking you, and I'm glad we've clarified this so far, that people in the Tea Party may be opposed to Muslims holding any public office in this country? Can you understand where that question comes from?
Certainly I can understand where the question comes from. My view is that we judge people on their character and their actions. If you want to pray in a particular way, that is between you and whatever you call God. If you want to, for example, fly airplanes into buildings, that's an entirely different question, and we should have a very strong disapproval of that sort of activity.
I wish we had time for the minimum wage and all sorts of other issues, but I'm sorry we are out of time. I want to thank you all, Max Pappas, Amy Kramer, Carl Denninger, and Judson Phillips. I thank you all, leaders of various Tea Party groups, for joining me tonight. I wish we could clarify even more.